what a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Righteous Force, 10th Man, Chocolate Saiyan, Flatsoid, and I believe that's it in G+. How are you all doing?
Fantastic.
And we're also joined by a whole bunch of people in Discord, so hello to everyone in the Discord server.
Hello. Black Swan.
So we've only got... I think we've actually covered all the housekeeping questions individually, have we not? You covered the R value yesterday? Yeah, we have. We're going to go through them all. Great. Any evidence of Earth curvature?
Not from the horizon.
Well,
Have you?
how can an apparent horizon be loomed?
Well, that brings me nicely on to the next question. Any evidence of a physical sphere edge capable of geometric measurement?
No, because Black Swan.
Yeah, Black Swan.
Everything's being loomed.
Everything moves.
What about axial rotation?
Of the eighth variety.
No extra rotation.
One more time.
No, there's no axial rotation. There's no axis.
You first need a globe to have an axis.
Any scientific evidence of gravity? Don't all go at once.
Nope.
No gravity.
Any single viable hypothesis?
No cause.
Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
No, because they're all just assumption based.
Nothing.
Not scientific.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
What's the sun?
They
No
can't
idea.
even measure the horizon.
Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container?
Definitely not.
Propane and propane accessories.
Yeah, the containers.
Nuclear reactor.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
No, they're definitely giving up on that. That one's gone. That's gone bye-bye.
It's a shame, really. I really like telling the story of Theia smashing into Earth at a glancing blow and depositing its molten iron core in our molten iron core, and then the debris coalescing into the moon. Such a beautiful story. And it's true, because they made it up themselves.
Yeah, it's a cool story, but they don't even bother with that anymore.
Any
Doesn't
evidence?
even make
some
sense.
sexual connotations to that, to be honest. Smashing in, depositing things.
It's all very dramatic, isn't it? Any evidence of the R value, last but by no means least? Earth radius. The R value.
It's just an assumption.
Well, they say the Earth's not a perfect sphere, so the apparent horizon and the geometric horizon can be doing whatever it wants to at any time because we're not in a perfect sphere. So what is the R value anyway?
It's not my claim. It's a presupposition they insert into their mathematics. Not my problem.
Well, up to this point, they had a radius. Now they're saying, well, don't trust our radius because of the Black Swan.
Yeah. The apparent horizon.
Someone said yesterday the radius could be different. Yeah.
Say again, sorry. Go ahead.
Someone was saying, not Highlander, but I don't know who. They were saying, are you sure the radius is that? Maybe the radius is different. Maybe the actual geometric horizon is not 1 mile or whatever where it should be. Maybe it's 2 miles or 9 miles at that particular point on the Earth, or who knows what they were saying. That the Earth is much bigger, or who knows what.
Yeah,
He's claiming flat spots and crap like that.
Well, that's fine. I mean, they're essentially claiming the geometry has changed. So they still want to reify a not actual location into the physical leading edge of a sphere. They're just saying that the R value that sphere would be based on is considerably larger. Well, obviously nothing then works on the sphere, and the R value which they claim we're supposed to be governed by physically because we're on a sphere is no longer applicable. Yeah, that's kind of model breaking claim for somebody who thinks they live on a sphere. So we win.
Welcome to Flat Earth.
That concludes the housekeeping.
I think this debate was won well back at the start. It was just a matter of technical information to clarify it since then.
Shout out to Awaken Narrative. It says Black Swan Lives Matter. Thank you very much for the super chat, Awaken Narrative. Really appreciate your support.
Well, they were poo-pooing our arguments when we said we still see too far to be on the globe. So explain why we see Chicago if it's supposed to be on the other side of the so-called edge. And they came up with their little things. And all of a sudden, the Black Swan says, look, I'm the stage for everything that could ever loom or not loom. Why am I here?
Well, that's what happened, right? We just asked a different question, right? Because for years we've been talking about boats and buildings and all these things happening at the horizon. Did we ever ask why is that horizon where it is? Because that seems to be the question that they can't answer. That's what seems to have changed. Like, why is that horizon that should be at 1.2 miles further than 9? And they can't answer that. So I think just a slight change to the question that we asked them has completely destroyed them. And now they're starting to catch up.
Yeah, well,
Sorry,
we got refined arguments. They don't.
So they were claiming miraging and so on for the Chicago skyline, which obviously apparently the anchorman or whatever the weatherman retracted. So they're not even saying miraging anymore for any of this, right? They're just saying looming or stooping or whatever. Are they anyone using miraging?
Not really. Not that I've heard.
Well, regardless of which effect of refraction they claim, the way to progress the argument is first get them to define what type of refraction. So you're saying mirages. Well, then you get them to define what a mirage is and see how it fits in with the Black Swan image. That's all you've got to do. It's really easy. So what's a mirage? So, I'm making a coffee, so I'm hoping somebody will just do this for me. Can someone dig up the definition of mirage and we'll see how it works. Let's see how it slips into the Black Swan and how the explanation would work with a mirage. Let's have a look at it. Who's going to go and get a definition?
Sure, I got it. Hold on.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Righteous.
Oh, wait. I keep always hitting full screen instead of share screen. Sorry for the delay. Okay, so... Is this one fine? An optical illusion caused by atmospheric conditions, especially the appearance of a sheet of water in a desert or on a hot road caused by the refraction of light from the sky by heated air.
I've got the 5
hold on.
effects here in front of me.
Okay, but let's just see how. So, who was it? That was it Babs? Or was it Earth-shaped investigator or Black Swans matter? Who was it?
It was me.
That's not me. No.
Swan-shaped investigator.
Swan-shaped investigator. So, if you can put your globe head on, hopefully I'll get Righteous to repeat the definition, and if there's anybody else with one, fine, we'll get two. But see how you can slip in the horizon moving above its geometric location in that explanation. You see how you can how well you get on shoehorning it in. Let's put your globe head on and see how you get on.
All right. Yeah, so the horizon is being miraged above the curve of the Earth, so therefore we can see the horizon miraged above it. That's the best I can do. I'm not good at role playing.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but wouldn't that require there to be two horizons in that picture, where there's only one?
Maybe it's like double miraging, where it's like inverting once and then inverting again. So like it's I don't know. We live on a globe. I'm sure of it. Sorry, I'm bad at this role.
It's hard to know.
The best role play you can do, bro.
Okay, we've got an image. Here we go. So it looks like Righteous has brought up some pictures of mirages.
It's just not, you don't understand.
So the question
I'm
is,
ready to go whenever you are, Righteous.
hang on, the question is the horizon miraged? Mirage is shown the extra image or images of the miraged object. Is there an extra horizon in the Black Swan photo?
Nope.
No.
Weird, I only
But-
see one horizon, even with Mirage.
Yeah, it's non sequitur. Okay, right, Righteous and Babs. So in the pre-show, I don't actually know what the presentation's about, Babs. I'd normally give it a bit of an intro and summary before you do it. I don't know what you're doing.
Well, it's related to what we're talking about right now. It's somewhat related.
Fine. So you're on screen, ready whenever you are.
Right. Okay. So we've heard on several occasions that bottom-up obstruction is impossible on a flat Earth, but we know that this couldn't be further from the truth. So in order to understand how things can be obstructed on a flat Earth, we need to understand perspective. And we also need to understand eye level and how our eye level is related to the horizon line that we see in the distance. Okay, so if Righteous Force, let's see what he has on screen right now. Could you go to the image that I sent that's just text? Like it's just a paragraph of text? Then we'll go back to this one. Okay.
All right, it's up.
So you always see the horizon line at your eye level. In fact, if you change your eye level by standing up or sitting down, the horizon line changes too and follows your eye level. Your eye level always follows you around everywhere because it's your eye level. If you sit on the floor, the horizon is at your eye level. So this is a fact, and we've heard the ballers say, have contradicted this and say that the horizon is never at your eye level. It's actually lower than your eye level, but that's not true. And I'm going to use this definition to explain how we can have bottom-up obstruction on a flat plane. So if you could go to the previous image, Righteous. Excellent.
Which one?
So here we have, yeah, this one, yeah. Here we have a perspective grid that shows us what we would expect to see as far as the effects of perspective are concerned, how things tend to converge or get compressed towards the center, and the ground appears to rise up. So right on this image here, I've marked in the center line a red line. Can everybody see the red line?
Yeah.
Okay, so the red line is marking where our eye level would be. This is our eye level, and yeah, that's what we would expect to see. Could you go to the next image, please, Righteous?
Done.
Yeah, excellent. So based on what we have been told by the Globers, everything that is above your eye level cannot be obstructed by things that are below your eye level. And yeah, that does make sense. But when we look at this image, we notice that two sections of the image are in two different areas. One, we would say 3/4 of that object in the background is below our eye level, and about 1/4 is above our eye level. So, can this be obstructed by anything? Let's see what happens. Could you go to the next image, please, Righteous?
Okay. It's on.
Right. So this image here is in front of the image in the background, and it happens to be obstructing part of that image. And based on what we've been told, which is that anything that is below your eye level cannot obstruct things that are above your eye level, that is in fact correct. But if we're looking at things that are below our eye level, then yeah, they can be obstructed by things that are below our eye level. And the obstruction that we're observing here is all taking place below our eye level. So how does this happen? When we look at the ground in this image, we notice that the ground appears to rise upwards, even though that isn't happening in reality. It's just how our eyes work. Our eyes tend to make things appear to rise upward and converge in the distance. So this object that is below our eye level is actually rising upward because of how our eyes work. And because of that, it gets closer to the red line, which is our eye level. So as it rises up, it can obstruct anything that's in the background that is below our eye level, as demonstrated in this image. So the question that we should be asking with all of the observations that are being made and are being shown to us with buildings that are being obstructed is, are they being obstructed below our eye level or above our eye level? And that's going to give us a better idea of what's taking place here. So now, lastly, if you could go to the other image that I sent you, Righteous?
The Jose Tower, first one.
Yeah. So if you remember, at the beginning of last year, we were presented with this image of a lighthouse that was filmed by, I believe, Jose, J.G. Gonzalez. And he was claiming that we can't see the bottom of this lighthouse because it's behind the curvature of Earth. So we haven't determined where the horizon line is in this image. We also haven't determined where the position of the observer is or the distances. So we can do that now, playing the video that I just sent you, Righteous, if you don't mind. And if you could play that video, do you mind turning the audio off if possible?
It is
Because
off.
that's gonna, yeah, there we go.
Okay, I'll start it now.
Right. Right, so as we can see here, he's just showing us where everything is located on this map, which is going to include his position as well as the lighthouse's position and the distance. Now, the key thing I want you to note here is that the lighthouse is on land, and pay attention to the amount of things that are on land that are in front of that lighthouse that can cause obstruction. There's a whole ton of things that are in front of that lighthouse that could definitely cause obstruction. And this is a location where he's observing it from, right here. And he's measuring the distance. I'm looking at this on the YouTube video, so it's probably not synced up perfectly, but I'm sure you can get the idea of what I'm talking about here. So it's approximately 4 miles away. So we can see that there are trees and there are houses and there are buildings, and there's all kinds of stuff in front of that lighthouse that can cause obstruction from the bottom up. Not to mention that there's water in between him and that lighthouse as well. And that water has swells and waves that can also cause obstruction. So these are things that you need to keep in mind when making these observations. And the key points are, where is the horizon line? And are the things being obstructed above or below the horizon line? And that's going to give you a better idea of how to interpret what we're looking at. All right, that's all. Thanks, Righteous.
Thank you very much, Babs. Good presentation. I'm also going to do another shout out to another YouTuber who's called Life is Short, who I plugged in the pre-show. So I'm going to stick his link in the live stream chat so you can go and check out this particular video, which is Appendix A, a concept for vision. That's the name of the video. So go and check that out. But he's essentially describing something very similar to what you've just described in terms of what you get in terms of your vision, how it lays out. So again, I'll describe this in the pre-show. Go and subscribe to Nathan Oakley channel if you want to hear how we describe exactly what's being discussed by Life is Short. And as I say, there's a link to his video. But thank you very much, Babs. That was great.
No worries.
Hey, Brian.
Hey Nathan, hey everyone, how are things?
Shout out to Alexander, who says, there can only be one P's horizon. One P's horizon. There can only be one PS horizon. There we go, got there in the end. Also, shout out to Theo Megawerty, who says, globe arguments, gravity, radius, rotation, refraction, reification. Grrr! Thank you very much for the super chat. And then also shout out to All People Free People, who's one of my Patreons as well. Thank you very much for the super chat. He says, ban P Mars. I'll keep an eye on him. I'll see what he's doing. Thank you very much for the super chat.
Yeah, that was really excellent because I don't think, well, I mean, that's a really good presentation on how, as we look out, things below the eye level can obstruct. Yeah, that's really insightful. So, like you said, below the eye level, you've got water, you've got trees, you've got a whole bunch of stuff, and that's not even really brought up by a lot of flat earthers.
No, I noticed that a lot of people hadn't taken it into consideration. And I just decided that I needed to point this out. Perhaps, I mean, other people have talked about it. I just haven't come across it yet.
Yeah, Ranty has.
So that's why, as you're looking out across the, in any observation, the further you're looking out, the more this stuff below your eye level just starts accumulating. Then you have, let's say, the magnification type effects like Rob Skiba demoed. So you've just got not just the refraction, but all these objects just sort of building up below your eye level. That's going to just, sort of like, just cluster around the horizon and cause this quote unquote obstruction.
Yeah, everything seems to be bunching up at the horizon. And one of the things that I noticed that was kind of key is that the ground, the further away that you look, the ground gets closer to the horizon line. And when the ground starts getting closer to the horizon, it can start to, things that are on the ground can start to obstruct things that are close to the horizon line, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't appreciate, that number one, that's the effects of perspective, which, we don't usually look at. We've never really been taught that properly unless you're in specific fields. And it's really exponential because towards that eye line is where increasingly everything does get ever more so bunched up.
Exactly. Not to mention that things in the distance also get smaller. They decrease in angular size. Anything that's in the background is going to be smaller than things in the foreground, which can also lead to obstruction. But all we get from the ballers is just side-on, two-dimensional views, everything represented as the same size. They never show perspective or angular size change. and that's how they get us, because they use images that are not representational of reality.
I've got that on screen now, again, in reference to A Concept for Vision, Appendix A, bottom first disappearance across a flat surface by Life is Short. And he's showing how, as you go towards the horizon, you've got a limitation in terms of how much information is in each section, and it limits by a greater amount as you go towards the horizon until you're at a point where the vast majority of the information is in the smallest of angle. So it's a great video. Another shout out to Life is Short, your ace, mate.
Right, so if you look at that image that you're showing on screen, oh, it's gone.
Oh, sorry, I'll put it back on. Yep, it's on.
Right, so if you look at the image that you have on screen, the spot that's marked as 3 feet, that looks like a really small section, but it's not. You know, it's just because of foreshortening that makes it look a lot smaller than it is. And that's another thing that's happening. Everything is sort of being shortened and distorted. So it doesn't really, it's not really that size or that length, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's apparent, as opposed to the geometric mathematics, which utilise actual size. So if these are doors that are going down, I can't see this too much, but if these are doors, obviously as you go further down the corridor, the doors are getting smaller. Well, that's their apparent size reducing. But in the geometric earth curve mathematics, you don't have it presented in this view. You have it side on, with your own head in the left-hand side and whatever you're looking at in the right-hand side, and it's given to you in feet and inches. Well, what that does is effectively remove this aspect of perspective, i.e. things reducing in angular size as they get further away from you. Well, if you can remove that, you can then claim that when it gets to the point of the diffraction limit, where you can no longer resolve the information, they can simply claim that earth curve geometry is obscuring your view, when in reality it's simply become too small to see, based on the limitation of the angle.
Exactly, and the side-on view also doesn't represent how perspective makes the ground sort of ramp up. It only shows the ground as a straight line.
Even something that's higher than, let's say you have a camera, even something that's higher than your center frame of your camera, when you move that away from you, it will gradually go lower than your center frame. Even if it's higher at the start, the further it goes away from you, the lower it gets in your center frame. And so what you end up with is, in a lot of the Glober's supposed observations, is you end up with a situation where they have a load of stuff going on at the bottom of their observation, and they have a load of sky for all the 3/4 of the top, because and they claim then that when something is smaller in the background than something else in the foreground, it's because it's gone over the curve, but it's not. It's just distance. If it's in the background, it's more distant than the thing in the foreground. And even if the thing in the foreground is smaller, its angular size at that point, especially in connection with the center frame, its angular size will be bigger than what's in the background. Obviously, it depends on the size of the two objects and distances. But it's down to that. It's like they don't. I think a lot of the borders don't realize like that something that's higher than your center frame, but when you start, it will become lower and lower in your center frame as it goes away due to angular size.
Yeah, it reminds me of a really good video that Jaron covered Jesse Kozlowski, and he was describing him looking at a lantern across a lake, and he's about 200, 300 feet up in the air. And he's saying as it goes further away, it starts to drop towards the horizon. And that's because of, and then Jaron cuts the video and puts in massive letters, perspective! And you're like, yeah, exactly. A couple of super chats asking me to whisper Black Swan. I did whisper it for Godzilla, but I'll whisper it for you too, Flat Bike Nomad. Black Swan. There you go. Shout out to Godzilla. Hold on. Shout out to Godzilla37. I'll read your super chat. So it's just Nathan, whisper this for me. Quote, Black Swan. Black Swan. And pretty much the same comment from another super chatter. Fat Bike Mike? Fat Bike Nomad, sorry. Thank you very much for the super chat. Really appreciate your support.
I actually had a thing with Jesse Kozlowski himself. He spent about 4 days sending me different links to different things, because I challenged him on the whole angular size change thing, because he had a video where he had his he had his theodolite set up at about 5'6" 7 or something like that in height. And across a body of water, I'm not sure if it was a lake or river at the time, but it was a couple of miles across, so it's probably a lake. He had another pole set up, and it was there was a mark on the pole that was exactly at the top of the pole, was exactly the same. This mark was exactly the same as his center, height wise, off of the water, exactly the same as what would be the crosshairs on his theodolite.
Yeah, exactly.
And when he was showing is that when his theodolite was showing that he said that's the curve of the earth, and I said to him, no, I said it's angular size change, and I said you don't take that into account when you're doing surveying. And he says, well, blah blah, you know what it is, and blah blah blah. I spent 4 days, and he had to admit to me in the end that it doesn't get taken into account.
No,
so
they're dealing with geometry. That's our whole argument. This is why we're at the point where we're sitting pretty. We've won. Now this argument between you or between Jaron and Jesse is the crux of the argument. You're saying geometry, we're saying perspective. It's just that simple. But when we can hold them to task on what their geometry requires, a geometric horizon, and disprove they have one, it's game over. That's Black Swan.
Yeah, I think the thing people should do as well is to just whenever you're back at an airport or whenever you're passing through an airport, and then you just, when you're looking down the travelators going towards the various gates, I did that a few years ago, and it's just amazing when you have that perspective where, you're just looking through hundreds of meters in this building, which is, generally it's flat and straight. And just to see everything compressed so fast in front of you, it's something you never really noticed before. Sometimes you can even just do it in a big car park, and you look down, the rows of cars parked towards the end, and yeah, things really just compress really fast. Yeah. So I suggest everyone try it next time you're in a car park, or especially at an airport.
More so at the airport.
Exactly.
More so at the airport than on the car park example, because you're essentially in the airport example. I don't want some bullshitting nonsense in the comment about windows along this hypothetical corridor I'm about to describe. You've got the angular limitation on all of the sides that you're looking down. So your angle along the walls is just as limited against that flat surface as it would be against the deck when you're looking out in these long distance observations. So obviously we've only got one plane that's limiting your angle on a long distance observation, but when you look down a corridor, the angular limitation applies to the ceiling and the walls and the floor. So you have this sort of cascading effect. I know exactly what you mean. I've been in enough airports to know precisely what you're describing. It's quite trippy because they're massive and you can see for a very long way, but the angle's getting limited on all sides down to this point in the distance where everything's very, very small. Seems obvious, but like I say, when you can see it with more than one limitation to the angle, i.e. a corridor, which is a lot of the examples Life is Short uses. You're getting a lot of plugs Life is Short. It's much more obvious because you're seeing it in 3 different planes. Or 4, sorry.
Yeah, a lot of these things you wouldn't really know until you actually go out on your own and observe them. And if we went by what people were saying, we would never get anywhere. I was on a flight last week, and I was looking out the window, and I could see the horizon at eye level. But I've heard for years now the ballers saying that you can't see the horizon line at your eye level on an airplane. It's always going to be below your eye level. And that's just a lie. There's so many lies that they come up with, and until tested, you're never going to know that they're lying to you.
Sure. I mean, that's an aspect of their geometric horizon that is, there's a stipulation on it. And I try and extrapolate this out so people can understand when they try to deny the edge of their sphere. If you're raising in altitude, which changes your angle to the physical edge of the sphere, as you get higher, you're seeing further over it. Well, eventually, when you reach a certain point, it'll start to, according to them, if it's a physical edge, curve with altitude. And if you go up even higher, you get to the point where they're in a second law of thermodynamics violation and they can see the entire edge bent circular. So the claim is that from ground level, we have a physical edge of a sphere that will transition to a complete circle if you get high up in altitude. In other words, you must have it, you must see further over that physical edge as you raise. So the necessity of the model is described in their claim that you must see it dropping as you raise. It must do so if it's a sphere and a physical edge, because that's what would happen as you transition from the flat plane that we all observe to their claim of a sphere-shaped Earth at altitude. Well, the in-between bit is the edge, their horizon, curving till it goes fully circular.
Exactly. Yeah, I was listening to a debate between Quantum Eraser and I think it was Stingray Dean and Anthony in Emma UK's Discord server. Now, something that I noticed that was just, it stood out immediately was that when Stingray Dean was asked to present a citation for the points that he was making, he didn't have any. And no one seemed to notice that. Everyone just wanted to focus on how John got mad and was being disrespectful to Dean, but they weren't paying attention to what was really going on. Like Dean was claiming that the reason that the horizon is further away in the Black Swan image is because it's being refracted by extreme refraction. Then John was asking him to provide a citation for what extreme refraction is, and he didn't have any. He just decided to go into all these different technical terms that did sound related to what they were talking about, but he was just obfuscating because he was trying to buy time because he didn't have a citation, because there isn't such a thing as extreme refraction. Just like superlooming doesn't exist. And a lot of these terms that they come up with, they just like pluck them out of their asses, literally. Like
trench
they're
terms.
things that just don't exist.
Trench terms. Like when we
He went
argue
into
about
word
correlation.
salad mode.
Yeah, trench terms. We're in the trenches. They'll just make up shit, pull it out of their ass to explain a problem that they've got. It doesn't matter whether or not the trench term conforms with their actual model or not, or if it's got a definition or not. It doesn't matter. It's just an excuse that they use here in the trenches.
Exactly. And when these guys are cornered, like when Dean was cornered, you could see that he tried to play that same game that he plays on the other debate shows when he has all of his buddies with him and they're there to back him up. He starts using all these technical terms, trying to sound intelligent, but he doesn't really answer the questions. And to the people that are listening that aren't that intelligent, they just believe everything that he says. But if you understand what's going on in the discussion, you can see that he's just being disingenuous and he's just making stuff up as he goes.
Saying the word refraction is a blanket term. It's like when someone asks you what color something is and you say colors. You know, it's like you have to define what.
I like
you know,
that.
yeah, isn't it the same? You have to define what effective refraction. You know, if something is purple, I have to state it's purple. I can't just say it has colors. You know what I mean? If one part is purple and another part is yellow, I'd say the purple, yellow, whichever.
Right.
Exactly.
Let me stick that in an analogy. So I say, oh, the paint on my car is really faded. And the explanation you get is, well, that's because of the colour. And you go, what? What do you mean? And what about the colour? What do you mean colour? You know, that's just a blanket term that's applicable to absolutely any car in any condition. The colour.
Yeah.
Well, the refraction.
Exactly.
What do you mean the refraction? What kind of refraction? And then we get into, well, it's a mirage. Well, let's see your definition of mirage and see what it says about the horizon and where it's positioned.
Exactly. When they say extreme refraction, they're saying extreme blanket term. You know, extreme refraction means nothing because it doesn't actually, logically, it doesn't mean anything because it's not stating anything in particular. You know, it's just extreme blanket term.
Yeah, I remember that hangout. And QE asked him to give him a citation for extreme refraction, and he went on his little word salad mission. I know exactly what Babs was
Then
talking
he proceeded to block and mute QE and play a victim, and he was like, "Oh, QE's so disrespectful. He's being so mean to me." And all of this is just tactics. Like, he couldn't answer the question, and it was so obvious.
Well, extreme refraction would be refraction that's much greater than typical. But I have a question for the guy that was given the presentation about.
Well, let's just continue that
One
exact
second,
same discussion
Brandon.
then. So you're saying extreme refraction is more than typical refraction. So I'd like to see a citation for typical refraction and extreme refraction. Can you cite those two, please?
This is just what the words mean. Extreme
Citation,
speed.
Brenda.
Let's
We
see
were
how
just
long she
talking about how
lasts.
somebody else brought it up and had no citation. Can you please cite it?
Yes, please. Same thing I asked Brenda.
So if I say that a car is traveling at an extreme speed,
Don't
I
need a
just
new
mean that it's
example.
traveling
Brenda,
faster
Brenda,
than
Brenda,
typical.
Brenda,
That's just what the
Brenda,
word
Brenda,
means.
Brenda. Don't need a new example. I'll ask again for the third time, then you can fuck off. Get us a citation for what you've just claimed. That would be extreme and what was the other word you used?
Typical.
Typical
Refraction.
and extreme refraction. We want a citation for those two things. Precisely what we were discussing, the lack of citation from someone else who
Oh,
claimed them.
okay.
So I don't want to talk about anything else. We just want citations for those two things, please.
Oh, okay. So typical, the definition of typical is simply
Cite it.
mean ordinary.
Post it in live stream. We want to read it along with you. We want to read it. Cite it. Don't just say what it says. Post it in live stream. Someone will bring it out and we'll read it word for word with you. Sorry, have you posted it in live stream? We're going to be reading it with you, Brenda. Don't talk. Say, first words out of your mouth are going to be, I've posted it in live stream. Here's the definition of typical refraction, and here's the definition of extreme refraction. They are from this place. Here is the specific section I want you to read along with me. Have you done that yet?
I don't think I have to provide citations.
Well, then you
for
can fuck off.
ordinary words.
Then you
These are
can
not
fuck
technical.
right off, can't you? Bye-bye. No longer involved. You don't think you need to cite it when the entire discussion was about the lack of citation from Dean, and you're going to come along and tell us that you don't think you need to, but you're about to tell us what it said? No, that's just making shit up that you can't cite and don't think you need to, even though you're about to apparently read one out. Just a liar. So you weren't about to read one out, were you? Because if you were about to read one out, as per the definition, you'd cite it and post it. So you're about to lie about what it said when you haven't got one to cite. So what were you about to tell us? Something you weren't reading from a citation, you liar.
He was about to tell us the definition, which is not even what we asked for. And you can't tell someone the definition. You have to show it as well.
Why do I have to show it?
Because that's what citing
You don't know
something
what the
is.
word- you don't know what the
I'll
word
answer you if you'll shut
typical
up.
means.
Shut up! Because that's what making citations means. Providing it, citing it, so we can see it and read it with you. And if you don't understand what a citation is, go somewhere else. Go to some pathetic debate where they don't know what that word means. If you don't know what a citation is, sod off.
Weird. Not even
Do I have to
Google has
provide a
citations
cite
on
for
this.
if, and the?
We haven't asked you that. We haven't asked you to cite the. We've asked you to cite.
Yeah, I don't, and I
I'm
don't
still
have
talking.
to give a cite
Don't
for
bully
the.
me, bully boy. I'm still talking, bully boy. Yeah.
And I don't have to
don't
give a
talk when
cite
I'm talking,
for
bully boy.
typical.
Don't need to censor me, bully boy. The
I
discussion
don't
was about
have to
the
give a
bully boy.
cite.
Stop
I don't
talking
have
when
to
I'm
give a
talking.
cite
Stop it,
for
bully boy. Stop
extreme
it, bully
or
boy. Don't
typical.
censor me, bully
These are
boy.
common
Stop bullying me,
words.
bully boy.
Citation
Stop
is-
bullying me, bully boy. I'll carry on when you shut up, bully boy. Stop interrupting me, bully boy. I'm going to talk unimpeded, bully boy. We've discussed the specifics of a lack of citation. Something we've challenged you to do specifically to make the point that you wankers don't cite anything. And now you're telling us how you don't need to, making our point quite clear. So, if you feel you don't need to, you're making the same point that we made with Dean, that you don't bother. You just pluck stuff out your ass, claim you're reading it, tell us what the citation is, but you haven't actually got one. Liars, all of you.
Do you have a citation for a citation?
Why are you asking for me,
Nathan?
Why are you asking me for something?
Well, you need to
Well,
give.
don't stutter. Why are you asking me for something? You've said
citation.
super looming or whatever the bloody
You have to
bullshit
give
you
me a
made up.
citation
Shut
for
up!
the words.
Shut the fuck up, bully boy. You said a claim of a type of refraction. Don't ask me to cite something. I'm not bloody claiming anything. You've come in and claimed this type of refraction.
Give me a citation.
I'm not claiming anything, bully boy. I'm not claiming anything as she talks through me again, bloody bully boy. You're making the claim, bully boy. I know you want to just barge in here, bully everybody with your total bullshit, and then railroad everybody by talking through them. Well, you're not going to get away with it. The discussion was about the lack of citations, and you want to railroad every time I point out that you're not giving us one, and justifying why you're not giving us one, by bullying everybody and talking through them, and not providing what we're discussing. The very thing we're discussing is your lack of citation, and you haven't given us one. You lied, pretended to read one out, told us what it says. Liar. You haven't got one, you've just made it up. And then when we point that out, you bully us and talk through us and censor us because you don't want it highlighting that you're a liar and you've just made it up. The very point we made about Dean.
She's only in here to look for attention and cause havoc. That's all she's here for.
The definition of extreme is very...
Yeah, so get us extreme refraction. Definition of extreme refraction? Silence, because she's just defining the first section of what she's claiming. Extreme refraction. We don't need a definition of extreme. Term. We don't need a definition of extreme. It's in context with the specifics you're claiming for Black Swan, same as Dean was. That's refraction, not extreme. What, you want to segue away from the actual claim you've made now? That we've got this thing called extreme refraction you haven't got a citation for, but will pretend to read one out whilst telling us what it is when you've made it up.
These are not technical terms. They're just
bullshit words. Terms you've made up because you're not citing them. That's the point. Don't tell us what they are. You haven't cited anything. What, the bullshit you've made up's not a technical term. Like we care.
I was just wanting to ask the guy with the other guy that gave a presentation on perspective. I wanted to ask him a question.
I don't care. You came in and we were specifically talking about how Dean didn't have a citation and then ran a load of obfuscation and distraction techniques rather than citing anything. You pretended to read out a citation about this type of refraction. And then when we said, can you post it? You said you don't need to. Highlighting the fact that you just lied when you claimed to be reading one out and describing it. That's what you did. You lied because you don't have one. Now you're justifying it, saying these aren't technical terms. No. What aren't technical terms? The words that you're using as opposed to the citations you're providing because you haven't provided any. You've made it seem like you're reading one though, haven't you, you liar?
Ordinary refraction or typical refraction would be the kind that you see every day.
Citation, please. Citation, please. Citation. Don't keep babbling. Cite it.
Give a citation.
Don't babble indefinitely with your word salad diarrhea. Cite it. Don't tell us. We don't want to know what you think.
Cite what?
We don't care what you think. You're just one person. We want you to cite it.
Nathan?
Why do I have to give a cite?
You don't have to. It just nicely highlights our point that you never do and you just make shit up. So you don't have to, because it makes our point for us. Thank you for not citing it. It makes our point that you're all disingenuous liars and will pretend you've got one and say this is what it says when you haven't got one and you're just making it up as you go along. Thank you, Brenda, for not citing it as per our example and discussion about Dean. Thank you so much that you will interrupt me like the bully boy you are while I thank you for not citing it and making our point. You don't have to talk through me, bully boy. I'm thanking you for making our point by not citing your bullshit. Thank you, Brenda. We don't need anything more from you in this regard. We don't need your musings about what you think this type of refraction is. We don't need any of that.
I wasn't the last time she actually tried to cite something, it actually destroyed her own argument. So that was great. So I see why she doesn't do that because she doesn't even know how to.
Hey, Life is Short. Brenda. See, Life is Short is on. How's it going?
Hey, what's up, Life is Short?
Quantum Eraser, have you figured out whether modus tollens is inductive or deductive? Have you had a chance to look that up to figure it out yet, Quantum?
Sorry, is this the second-hand
Like a
obfuscation
retard.
show? Is this just second-hand obfuscation?
What
Yeah.
What type of argument is?
Do you sense that I'm about to actually ask you the real question, which was, why is the horizon in a position that's geometrically impossible for your sphere Earth? That's the question, not about the type of logic. Silence.
It isn't.
Oh, it isn't? Yeah, it is. Yeah. We're definitely asking a question about why a horizon that's in the Black Swan image is in a geometrically impossible position for your sphere. That's the actual question.
No, but it isn't. It isn't, though. It's in front of the platform.
Oh, wow. Delusional.
Let's get the picture up. Let's see if it's in front, shall we?
But that would
This is
debunk the
photoshopped. You put this through levels.
It's Photoshop.
Oh,
You
we
put this through
painted the
Photoshop.
swan.
You
My
adjusted the levels.
Painted Black
it.
Swan.
You adjusted the
Yeah.
levels.
You painted the Black Swan.
No, but the levels are adjusted. The levels are adjusted, aren't they?
Listen
still
to
see
you,
the
brother.
Black
You're
Swan has been
drowning.
painted.
It's Photoshop. Look, you painted the levels.
It sounds just like when they trying to say I cut frames.
CGI.
Yeah, that's not a photograph. That's photoshopped.
You can still see the horizon in the original.
We can't know that because you photoshopped.
Yeah, I've seen
the
it.
image.
I can know it. Don't tell me what I can and can't know. I've seen the
I've
video.
I've seen it.
I've seen it. I can know that. I've seen it.
too.
Yeah. Several people saying
And the
they can know
platform-
this, Brenda.
the-
Don't speak for everyone else.
yes.
Only speak for yourself,
Yes.
please. Don't tell us what we
Oh,
can
look,
and can't see,
the-
please.
the horizon
Stop
disappeared.
talking through me,
Look at
bully
that.
boy. Oi, bully boy. Can you not hear me talking? That means you don't get to bully me,
The
bully boy.
horizon is in
Stop
front
bullying
of
me,
the
bully
platform.
boy. I'm talking. That means you're listening or you're not taking part. You're not going to get to bully us and railroad us with your filibustering. Okay? Don't speak for other people
Isn't
on the
it
panel.
funny how
Shut
with-
up, bully
Isn't it
boy.
funny how the
Bully boy,
non-Photoshop
bully
gives-
boy, don't filibuster and
No,
railroad
the
the point.
horizon.
Don't filibuster
Isn't that
and railroad
funny?
the point, bully boy. I'll get to finish here. You won't get to bully us indefinitely, Brenda. Okay? Don't speak for other people on the panel when you tell us what we can and can't see. Immediately after you spoke for them, 3 other people on the panel pointed out that they can see the horizon in the original video. You don't need to tell us what we can and can't see. We've got our own eyeballs. Just because you're blind doesn't mean we are.
You photoshopped the image, though.
Sorry, did you not hear me say the original? We've got an original. You can still see the horizon. Are you deaf as well as blind?
In the original, you can see that the horizon is.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's what our point is. Yeah. We can see the horizon. We're not fucking blind. Yeah, we know.
Yeah, it's in front of the platform.
No, it isn't.
I tell you
You're
where
just
we can't
blind.
see the horizon. 1.23 miles away.
You're just blind.
If you adjust the levels on any image of the sky, you can get banding, and that's what you did here.
Yeah, sorry, in the original.
You adjusted the levels in order to manipulate
Sorry, are you
the photograph
always going to
and
segue away
get-
from the
and
fact
to
that we've
get the
just
result
said?
that you wanted?
Yeah, shut her up. Sorry, in the original, the undoctored one, the horizon is most definitely behind the platforms.
No, it isn't definite.
Well, then
at
you're
all.
blind.
Are you saying that they actually copy and pasted an extra horizon in?
So, Brenda, do you
No,
just
I'm
disagree
saying
with
that-
all the other Globers that have actually conceded that the horizon is behind those platforms? Like, are you just different?
It
Do
is
you have a
not.
different type of eyesight
not.
or something?
No,
I'm
I'm
confused.
agreeing with Blue Marble Science that the horizon is in front of the platform.
No, that's not what Blue
Oh, so
Marble
he's just
says.
as delusional
Hold
as
on,
you. That's
hold
what you're
on,
saying. Thanks.
Hold on. I just watched Blue Marble, and he's claiming the reason the horizon's behind the oil platforms is because of refraction. That's what Blue Marble's saying.
Yes.
Oh,
Sorry, so he's
so you don't-
justifying. Hold on. So Blue Marble's not saying it's in front of the horizon, the oil platforms. He's justifying why it's behind with refraction.
No, he's not. He doesn't say that the horizon is behind them.
Yes, he does. He shows
says
it,
the
and then he
horizon-
justifies
no,
the reason with refraction. He even plays QE very specifically laying out the modus tollens argument about where the horizon is. Then he justifies it with refraction. So not only are you blind, you are also deaf, and you can't comprehend what Blue Marble's actually said, because he's not backing your bullshit about it being in front. He's justifying why it's behind. You moron.
No.
Yes, you moron. That's what he is doing. He justifies it with refraction. That's how he explains the Black Swan image. He justifies the horizon being behind with refraction. He doesn't specify what type, because he's a moron like you. But he definitely isn't backing your nonsense blindness.
No, he doesn't
Brenda,
say
so
that. He
does he
says
know that you're
clearly
running
that
around
the
misrepresenting
horizon is
his
in
position?
front of the platforms.
So why does he justify why it's behind with refraction then?
He doesn't.
Really? You just aren't keeping up to date with your alma mater of blue marble retard who thinks a pipe is not a container. In this instance, he's told all the Muppets that go and watch him, refraction is the solution, and then you get people like Dark Star here, and we ask what type of refraction, and they tell us bendy crane refraction, because they don't know how to extrapolate on his explanation for why the horizon's behind the platforms, which would be refraction, according to him. You're just wrong.
Is a pipe...
Oh, let's segue. Yeah. Let's talk about how retarded Blue Marble is for claiming a pipe's not a container. I've got a quote from him saying pipe is a container. Only today.
A sealed
I've got a quote
container.
from him today, Brenda.
A sealed container.
Sorry, I've got a quote. A sealed
Is a
container.
pipe a
So,
sealed
sealed container. Yeah. So a container then.
It's not a sealed container.
Sorry,
though,
so it's
is
definitely a container then. So Blue Marble, moron,
So
redneck
it's not
retard, is describing it as a gas pressure without a container, and you're saying, oh, it's definitely a container, it's just not sealed. So he's a moron when he says gas pressure without a container, as she decides that she's going to bully me while I make this summary. Yeah, can you stop bullying me, please, bully boy? Can you stop bullying me, please? Bully boy, bully boy, bully boy. Bully boy.
Demanded that.
Bully boy. Can you try and listen, bully boy, rather than interrupting me? Thanks, bully boy. So when Blue Marble says he's got a demonstration of gas pressure, and in his own title, I quote, without a container, you're saying it's definitely a container. He's a moron, he's wrong. It's just not sealed. So it's definitely a container then. He's just completely retarded when he thinks a pipe is a demonstration of gas pressure without a container. That would be fundamentally retarded on his part, wouldn't it, Brenda? Because it's definitely a container, by your own admission, it's just not sealed. Definitely a container, though. Contrary to his claim that it's a demonstration of gas pressure without a container. What an idiot.
So you agree that it's not a sealed container?
I would say that it's definitely not a demonstration, as per the claim by Blue Marble Science, of gas pressure without a container, which is what he's claiming it to be. He's just an idiot. Well, the reason we call him redneck retard is because you're arguing that this container may or may not be sealed. Now, that would make it a container, though, wouldn't it, Brenda? And his claim is he's got a demonstration of gas pressure without a container.
But he was just responding to your demand for an open container.
Sorry, gas pressure without a container is asked on consistent shows over and over again. Any demonstration of gas pressure without a container. So he's labelled his video gas pressure without a container. And he's got a container in it.
Right.
You're now arguing about whether or not it's sealed. Well, he's claiming to have a demonstration of gas pressure without a container. No. He's just mentally retarded.
He has you, in your own words, saying that it has to be a sealed container.
So he hasn't got a demonstration of gas pressure without a container, then. He's got a demonstration of gas pressure with a container, just not sealed. So he's lied to his audience, then, with his title. Lied.
No, you're lying.
Oh, I'm a liar, am I? Because I'm telling my audience I can demonstrate gas pressure without a container when I show them a container that's not sealed. That would be me lying, would it?
No, it'd be, you're lying.
No, it would be redneck retard lying to his audience at a fundamental level, being retarded and not recognising that a pipe is absolutely a container. That just makes him stupid.
He already had a gas pressure gradient within
you don't understand anything, but
before he started.
You're the one, and we have...
Yeah, shut up. I don't understand anything. What a cheeky bitch. Yeah, I understand what a container is. A pipe's a container. Your alma mater redneck retard doesn't. He's stupid. And with that, I'll say if you're watching this on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you're watching this live on the Nathan Oakley 1980 channel, this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. Another massive thank you to all of today's Discord and G+ panels for making this live show possible. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on the premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!